Thank you. I'm going to call the WSESD board meeting to order at 6:05. The meeting of the WSESD will come to order. This meeting is a hybrid meeting, which means that some or all of the public body is meeting remotely, and some are meeting physically in a previously noticed location where the public may attend to observe, listen, and participate contemporaneously. Please note that while we will strive to provide means for those attending remotely to participate in the public comment period, there may be technical difficulties or reasons that otherwise prevent or interrupt remote public participation. Therefore, it is important to note that the open meeting law only ensures the public's right to participate and comment at a public meeting by attending at the designated physical location as posted in the notice and agenda. If a member of the public or of the public body has technical difficulties accessing this meeting remotely, please alert us by email. In the event of a technical difficulty that cannot be resolved, we may continue the meeting, if necessary, to time and place certain. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. I'm not sure if I need to vote to amend the motion first or if I can make this statement.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Hi, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there are messages coming through that some people can't get into the meeting. Remotely, I mean.
Yep.
Some people are not, haven't been admitted yet.
Yeah.
We had to send out for some cables to get it hooked up, so they're going to have to wait.
I believe someone is working on admitting people. Thank you for that notice. So I'm going to make a motion to amend the agenda, and then I have a statement to make. So I move to agenda amenda as follows: to move the executive session as listed second on the agenda under 1 VSA 313A3, the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, provided that the public body shall make a final decision to hire or appoint a public officer or employee in an open meeting and shall explain the reasons for its final decision during the open meeting to be the first executive session held. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. All those in favor of amending the agenda as noted, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, thank you very much. So as we entered into our third executive session toward the end of the WSESD board meeting on August 9th, a board member raised a point of order on the motion to enter into executive session. A point of order is the official way board members can protest a motion and is part of Robert's rules, which Vermont statute requires we use to run meetings. Robert's rules have been around for over 140 years and assure meetings run smoothly and also assure every member has a voice. This board member believed the motion was incorrect and appeared they believed that the board did not have the authority to go into executive session. First, it is possible in the chaos of the moment that the board did not actually enter into executive session. If the board had entered into executive session, I have been advised by counsel for the board that perhaps it should have been warned under 1 VSA 313A3, the evaluation of public officer employee, provided that the public body shall make a final decision or hire or appoint a public officer or employee in an open meeting and shall explain the reasons for its final decision during open meeting, or 1 VSA 313A4, a disciplinary or dismissal action against a public officer or employee, in which case the motion and action to move into executive session would have been proper and was required by Vermont statute. If it was determined that this was a violation of open meeting law, I believe that it will be cured by the board's discussion this evening on board trainings. The agenda at the last meeting was questioned. It has always been a board responsibility to determine the agenda. During the preparation and setting of each agenda, I ensure the opportunity for each of the board members and the administration to provide input for and present inquiries into the agenda items. If there is a concern about or desired change in an agenda item, I provide the opportunity for board members or administrators to communicate regarding any questions they may have or clarification needed. Agendas are emailed at least 48 hours in advance. If there is an error, I want to fix it before the meeting so that we best serve our students during our valuable meeting time. In the case of the last meeting, the error was not, there was a potential error with the agenda, but there was also an incorrect assumption about an agenda item's topic. I'm not perfect, and I ask that any agenda concerns and/or changes be brought to me directly. Second, I want to address the importance of using Robert's rules for our board to function. Robert's rules requires points of order be decided by the chair. The chair's ruling is not debatable. Continued protest after the chair rules is a violation of Robert's rules, and the member is out of order. The VSBA urges members to reach out personally to other members to resolve any questions or problems, and not to do this during a board meeting. This saves meeting time for all of us because clarification is more easily and efficiently done offline. It is a waste of time, a disruption, and keeps the board from doing its work. It also seems like a willful attempt to undermine the chair and the board. I now realize that the member simply may not have understood Robert's rules and also may not have realized the bad precedent set when members do not follow Robert's rules. I regret that I did not pause to consider this possibility and assure the board I will do my best to assume a lack of knowledge and try to review Robert's rules in the future if board members are out of order. However, I also expect board members to model lifelong learning, and I also acknowledge that I will follow this as well, and improve their parliamentary skills as a model for our students. To that end, I have forwarded several Robert's Rules resources to all board members for their review until we can find an adequate training opportunity, and ask all board members review these resources to assure smooth and efficient meetings in the future. Thank you. Now we will move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the clerk's minutes of August 9th, 2022?
So moved.
Thank you, Anne. Do I have a second?
Second. And I would like to second it with the notation, the amendment, that there was a discussion about the VSB workshop. That should be added.
I want to make sure we're doing this proper.
So my motion is to amend the minutes to include a note that there was a discussion of the VSB workshop. Simply that.
I also
Didn't
have
get
an
recorded.
amendment.
That was, yeah, it was not recorded.
So Anne, are you
Amenable to that? Sure.
okay? All those in favor of approving the minutes with the indication of the VSBA workshop at the end of the meeting? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? You opposed?
No.
You're abstaining?
I said I voted for Tim's including.
Okay.
I was just raising my hand for the next thing. I also have a motion to amend the minutes. The final minutes of the last meeting after our recorder left.
Sure.
We're past that.
We're past the minutes.
We're into the consent agenda.
We just
amended it, moved on.
approved the minutes with his,
No, to add his minutes, and I said I have one too.
you're out of order. We can put that on the next agenda if you would like to. You can send me, email me what it is you would like to add to the minutes.
I did email you and Tim, and I was told to bring it to the table. I'm sorry that I missed. So I believe that I have my Robert's Rules books. I would love to, I think that we can actually take a step back, correct? I'm asking the chair.
I don't know. We've never done it before.
When something is moved and there needs to be an amendment to it?
Well, it has already been voted on, however. And it was not on Tim's amendment. It was on a flat-out motion
And I
that I made
misheard.
to approve.
And I misheard. David asked me a question and I misheard because somebody else was speaking to me during that. So I misheard.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just pointing out that by Robert's Rules of Order, we have voted and accepted the minutes. If you wish to enter an amendment,
I can still offer an amendment,
I
correct?
don't know if you can do it at this meeting. I think you might have to warn it for the next meeting.
I will certainly make a note to.
Thank you.
That will go on.
Oh, my God.
Okay. So now we move on to public comment on non-agenda items for a 10-minute time period. Sean, would you mind doing the time?
I forgot my phone, so I asked somebody else.
Thank you, David. Anyone making a comment can expect a response that falls into one of the following categories. Receive an acknowledgement of the comment with no further action planned. Receive immediate response by the board chair or administration. Administration would be directed to contact and respond to the person. Clarification sought from the administration for a specified meeting. The topic would be added to a specified future board agenda. The matter would be referred to an executive session. A public hearing would be held on the matter. Is there anyone in the public who would like to make a comment or question? Do we have anyone online?
Mindy's hand is up.
Mindy?
I actually just am still receiving messages from people who can't get into the meeting. So I'm wondering if that's been resolved or if you think it's going to be resolved. Some people are saying they're still getting a message that another meeting is in progress.
Okay, thank you. Paul, how?
So remember, there are 2 meetings. It may be that those folks are trying to get into the WSESU meeting that happened 10 minutes before the WSESD meeting, and therefore that meeting is over and they wouldn't be able to get in. Have them go back.
Yeah, Mindy, would you mind indicating to them that to check the meeting that they're trying to enter into?
Well, I did share, it's the same agenda that I joined from, the same link that I joined from. So I will tell them, but.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so Kelly Dias?
Hi, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just had the same problem and I realized what happened was I clicked on the link from the SD Facebook page and that was the one that left me waiting for the SU meeting. But the link that's posted on the agenda on the SU website is correct. So if people could be directed to go there, that would be the right link.
Okay, Mindy, can you, would you mind alerting people? I don't know if
I'm working on it. I wish I could type faster.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? And with this issue, we can go back. I think we could probably go back to allow people. So then we will move on to unfinished business at this point. The sexual abuse investigation update. We were expecting to have a report from the investigator on the Friday after our last meeting. It appears that there were some additional communications to the investigator, and we hopefully will be having a report within the next couple days. We've received communication that, so I hope by the end of the week we will have some further information for the public. David, did you have anything else that you wanted to?
No, it's the next item is the press release.
Okay. So anybody else have anything else on the investigation update? Okay. Then, sure.
Can I ask if it's going to be a full report or just an update?
A what, Chris?
A full report or an update?
I'm not sure that we know until
We don't know,
until we get whatever report that we're going to get. I don't think that we know until then. So, yeah, unfortunately, I mean, we understand that the public has been waiting. You know, this has been almost a year or close to a year that we've been addressing this in some format, you know, so we appreciate the patience.
Mindy has a hand up.
Mindy?
Hi, thank you. I think it's a simple request. I've been disturbed by some of the debate happening on social media and other public forums, and some of it is being fueled by misinformation because, you know, something from the meeting gets quoted out of context. For example, when Lisa Ford suggested that maybe not many people have reported, so now there's all this buzz on social media that there haven't been many reports and the investigation isn't really meaningful. So I just wanted to suggest that if it's at all possible to release like metadata, you know, information that is not compromising information, just maybe the number of people who have reported or, you know, anything that just gives people a sense of, you know, accurate information about what's happening so that the misinformation doesn't get spread. I think that would be really helpful. And I also was a little concerned about some of the comments being made by both former and current employees about the investigation. And some of them seemed like they could really discourage reporting. They were suggesting, first of all, that the abuse couldn't have happened because nobody told those particular employees about it at the time, and that reports of abuse are actually sort of disparaging all of the current employees, or there's innuendo in that. And I think both of those are really harmful suggestions because, first of all, just because we know that people don't tell about abuse at the time, it's very unlikely that anybody would have disclosed it to their teachers at the time. And also, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Also, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I'm just concerned that current employees and the idea that, I mean, we can be supportive of current employees in the district, of teachers and administrators who are working really hard without questioning the veracity of the feedback that has been received from both current and former students about misconduct or abuses. And I think that the suggestion that any report of abuse would be disparaging or creating innuendo that harms current employees is just not accurate. And I hope that something can be done to correct that messaging. I hope that was clear. Thank you.
Is your question specifically whether teachers, I mean, is that?
I sent yes, I'm seeing commentary from current employees and former employees on social media and online that are suggesting things that I think might be harmful to the attempts the board is making to encourage reporting. So my question is really just a request that something be done to address messaging, and it might involve some kind of metadata reporting so that false information can't be spread. I'm not being very clear, am I?
No, I think we understand. I'm just not sure. I mean, we'll have to see what it is that we can do that might fit that request. I'm not sure that we can do too much about what happens on social media. I mean, if there's something with current employees, then I would leave that to Mark to speak to what, if anything, that he would be able to do about that.
My request was just to, I'll be clear, I'll just be simple. My request was just that if there is some information, either just about the number of reports that have been made, or, you know, how many calls to any kind of metadata that might give people real information so that false information is not being spread about the investigation. That's all I'm asking, is if you can find some ways to release concrete information about what's happening with the investigation without releasing any of the more confidential information, like just numbers of people who've reported, maybe decades or time frames that might have been covered, just metadata.
We'll see what we can do to take care of that. Thank you. So now, any other public comment on sexual abuse investigation update? Okay. So we will now move on to the sexual abuse investigation communication plan, the draft press release that was, we talked about it last meeting, and did anyone, is there a,
we did make some changes, we incorporated some suggested changes to the press release. So it's a little different than the one that was posted previously. The board members got the final, the current draft, and I'd be happy to read it again for everyone else, for the public. It's not posted on the website yet. So I'm happy to do that, and then I think we want a motion to adopt it and have it sent out.
okay, sure, that would be okay. Thank you.
So the caption is "Help Wanted with School Abuse Investigation." The first paragraph, the Windham Southeast School District is asking past and present members of our communities to come forward with any information they feel may help our investigation regarding sexual abuse of students and/or harassment or abuse of power by current or former faculty, administration, and staff of the WSESD, including Brattleboro Union High School, Brattleboro Area Middle School, formerly Brattleboro Junior High, and any of our district elementary schools. You do not need to be a victim of abuse or harassment to help. Any information you share could help our investigation. And then visit southernvermontlaw.com/WSESD, call 802-451-0905, or email report@wsesd.info. And that's all it will be. That's already on the website on the former draft. It's just been relocated to the first paragraph. To report information regarding sexual abuse of students and/or harassment or abuse of power by current or former faculty, administration, or staff of the Windham Southeast School District, please do so. Oh, I'm sorry, that's repetitive. Let me just cut that out. There's one. If you would like to speak with an investigator, please provide your name and contact information. Information provided, including names and contact information of those reporting, will remain confidential unless disclosure is required by mandatory reporting laws in Vermont, in which case information will be reported to the Vermont Department of Children and Families as required, and that agency's privacy protocols will take precedence. If you prefer to report anonymously, please indicate this in your message, leave your email or phone number, and do not leave your name. Someone from the office will contact you within 24 hours to set up a meeting with an investigator. As noted on the website, Brattleboro lawyer Amy Goddard, a partner of Annis & Goddard PLC, is committed to providing transparent, accessible, and safe avenues for reporting. For those requiring accommodation, the firm will make every reasonable effort to support your needs. For more information, call the law firm at 802-451-0905 or email report@wsesd.info. So that's the current draft.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the draft press release?
So moved.
Thank you, Deborah. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Luana. And all those, any discussion?
Is there any discussion? We've had it for a while, maybe in the public.
So all those in favor of approving the press release as read by David, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, thank you. So now we will move along to Policy and Amendment Committee, board action needed. This is the adoption of some policies. Deborah?
I move that the WSESD School Board approve for readoption the following policies that were presented for first reading at the August 9th board meeting. The 10-day warning period has passed with no comment. The policies are D9, alcohol and drug-free workplace, D10, resignations, D12, policy on prevention of harassment of employees, F22, student assessment, F30, pupil privacy rights.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Anne. All those in favor of approving the policies as listed by Deborah, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. Moving on to Leadership Council Summit with Principals, Leadership Council Chairs, members of the Leadership Councils. This was on the last agenda, and I didn't know if we could have a discussion about that, if there was anyone, if there's any.
I'm looking at Deborah because we're
So
taking that up next week.
Yes,
next week.
next week at the Policy and Amendment Committee, we will be talking about leadership councils and trying to strategize how to receive feedback from all of the various school leadership councils. This was a discussion that came up when I was at the Dummerston Leadership Council last week. So it might be something that we want to jumpstart just in case a summit is slow to take off and get organized. But certainly we want feedback from all of the leadership councils, and we will reach out to every single one to get feedback. So just give us a chance to get this off the ground.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
That sounds great. Anyone else on the board have any questions, comments, or?
I would urge students to be involved in this. Each of the leadership councils that I know have something unique and special about their LCs. But I think we can benefit from a little more cohesion to taking best practices. That's why I hope that whether there's a summit or not, that the leadership council chairs and members, including students, weigh in on how to make them the most viable meetings possible.
Can I just ask clarifying questions? So is the policy committee taking up, creating a strategy to put into policy on communication channels? Or
No, we have yet to sit down with the Leadership Council policy. So we have yet to begin the discussion. Okay, and that's going to come up at the next policy meeting, which I think is September 6th. Yes. Is that right? It's September 6th at 3:00. So encourage everybody to be a part of this, Zoom in. We will be in the central office. So it is truly just an initial conversation. This is going to be a process that takes place. It's not happening in one session, for sure.
Okay. Anyone online have any questions, comments, thoughts? Or
so you said leadership councils in all the schools, would that exclude just any students that wanted to also have input within that?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
If it was going to be exclusively just students that were part of the councils within the school, or if students that aren't necessarily part of that group could still come and see the meetings and put in.
So my response was absolutely. We want all student comment. Absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
And like all board meetings, they're open to the public.
okay. So anyone from the public here or anyone online have any questions, comments, thoughts? Last call.
So I just want to say, I will be sure to reach out and make sure that you have that information. Okay? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. We are now moving on to the administration report. Okay. Tara.
Sorry, I couldn't find my hand button for a second. Thank you for taking my comment. One of the comments I would just like to say is remind the committees that there are people who would love to attend some committee meetings, but unfortunately 3 p.m. Doesn't always work for the working parent. So I would like to urge the board to remember that the demographic of people who might want to come to their open meetings or have comments might not be able to attend those meetings.
So I'd like to respond to that. Scheduling these meetings is difficult, that's for sure. It has to do with all the board members and our various life commitments. The meetings are posted on the website. So I encourage you to tune in, watch the meeting, and provide comment to committee members.
Afterwards, because the videos are posted.
The videos are posted after, a couple of days after, 48 hours after, but it's still an open process. So please comment.
And all the emails for the board members are on the website, so please feel free to send us emails on questions, comments, etc. Thank you, Tara, for that. Now we will move on to the administration report.
Okay. Just like to know, arriving to the meeting tonight and seeing all the high school students out in the fields practicing and not being able to find a parking space right here because students are actively engaged in activities is just a beautiful sight. And it's a sign of the next week that school is starting. So that's a really exciting time in a school year. For administrative report, I'll review some of the things that have developed throughout the summer. And I would encourage administrators to feel free to jump in and add to what I'm talking about here because we're all involved. The first one is very exciting. Rebecca Olmsted, who is our new nurse leader for the supervisory union and COVID coordinator, at the start of the summer applied for a grant through the AOE. And we found out a few weeks ago we were awarded that grant to support nurse teacher leadership in the amount of $79,000. So we're receiving $79,000 to support leadership amongst our nurses, professional development opportunities, increase opportunities for collaboration, going to workshops. So kudos to Rebecca. Second week on the job, she lands almost $80,000 for the school district.
Thank you very much, Rebecca.
Yeah. In early August, we had our traditional middle school leadership retreat up at Landmark College. This has been going on for a number of years. I was able to attend a portion of it. Paul Smith, I believe, attended the entirety, most of it. So Paul, feel free to jump in. But again, a formal opportunity to engage with student leaders at our various schools. So essentially, students worked with staff personnel that also attended the retreat, and they looked at climate data, student survey data. They looked at continuous improvement plans. They worked at the beginning stages of developing goals for this upcoming school year. It was really inspirational. Students were completely engaged throughout the entirety of the day, even though it was a really hot, humid day. We were outdoors for most of it. They would like to formally present their work from the summer retreat and the first few weeks of this school year at a future board meeting, and they've identified September 13th to potentially solidify a slot where they'd like to come and present to the board and to the community the work that they're doing. And I think they're looking for up to about 45 minutes or so. So that would be a presentation from Diana Wally along with the actual students who are engaged with the work at their schools, and Cassandra Holloway.
Which schools are these students representing?
All of our schools.
All within the district?
Yep.
Great.
Yep, we had representation from each elementary school and each middle school.
And could you urge them to send whatever PowerPoint or whatever before the meeting?
Yes. They are not quite aware of our standards, so I will send that.
Can I add one piece? The middle school leadership team is part of a collaboration with what used to be called Brattleboro Area Prevention Coalition, is now building a positive community. And it's based on notions of adding to student assets as part of prevention work. And so at one point, I think it was called the Asset Council, but the idea is putting middle school and upper elementary students in sort of leadership positions within their school, supported by an advocate at the school, to work over the course of the year on school improvement. And it's really, and there have been occasions when they've been able to connect that to the high school course, what was it called, or is it called, that brings some of the high school students as additional mentors for those students. It's been a great collaboration with BAPC over a number of years.
Thank you, Paul. Throughout the month of July, we engaged in a summer school at the elementary level, our second year running a school the way we did this year, focusing on enrichment activities for students. There was some academics each day, but we were up on the Austin campus for 4 weeks, two-week sessions. I would like to give a shout out to Chris Brewer, who was essentially the administrator in charge throughout those 4 weeks. Chris is an academic support teacher at BAMS, but he took the lead for us with some support from Deb Cardane as she was leaving our school district, and much support from Bryn Tucker, who's here tonight, who's our new curriculum coordinator. If you don't know Bryn. Just a few weeks ago, Bryn and I met with Chris to reflect on, how the camp went this year. And a number of surveys were shared that parents participated in, as well as students, and overwhelmingly very, very positive. And down the road, I can kind of share those surveys with you. Potentially, we could get Chris here to talk a bit about the program and then next steps for next summer. But I feel like we're onto something here that was started last summer in terms of how do we engage our kids coming out of a year of COVID. And we really focused on just getting kids together, doing organized activities, getting involved in enrichment. And it was a hit last summer, and we decided to do it again this summer. So I believe next summer, we'll be approaching a similar model. But each year we'll make tweaks based on what we learn and the reflections that we hear from students and families. So that was very much a success. This past week, we had our full administrative retreat. As I've shared multiple times recently, our admin team, lots of transition. We've had about a third of the population of our admin retreats completely new this year. So it was our first time to engage as a full group in person and really looking at goals for this school year. So 3 really aggressive agendas. I want to thank Bryn and Paul for leading that with me, identifying those agenda items, and then the engagement of the team was just, I'm excited for the school year. We just got a few days under our belt, but it feels like we have some really good positive energy. And I'm excited at a future meeting to maybe get us on the agenda for a presentation to really dig in a little deeper to our continuous improvement plan and kind of the goals that we had established from our retreat and how we're going to focus on those goals through administrative meetings throughout the year and how that looks in our individual schools moving forward. But very much on the forefront of our goals are continuous work around MLSS, continuous work around ESC development, continuous work around diversity, equity, and inclusion standards that we've identified last spring. Michaela joined us this summer for the first time, which is great, and she will be joining us at all of our admin meetings moving forward next year. And a new concept that I kind of challenged the team with moving forward is adopting a model for peer observation. It's something that learned quite a bit about through experience being a building principal and seeing how that affected the culture of the school, how it opened doors, how it got teachers more engaged outside of their academic teams in learning from each other. And I want to do that as a school system, not as an individual school or individual schools. So we're going to be working on what that looks like. How do we develop models in our individual schools that provides a safe space for teachers to observe each other and give feedback that's non-evaluative but helpful. And then at some point in the spring, the larger goal would be to get outside of our schools and start visiting other schools within the school district. I think, as we develop this work and engage in that commitment, it really opens a lot of doors for learning. I have this vision of, say, a 10th grade English teacher sitting on the floor in a 2nd grade classroom observing a phonics lesson. And then vice versa, that 2nd grade classroom teacher sitting in a 10th grade English class observing a lesson around comprehending certain literature and then having discussions about that. So, more to come on that, but that's kind of like the big vision that we discussed as an admin team as a way to support some of the work we're doing around MLSS, EST, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it really applies to all that we do because we're just opening channels for teachers to work together outside of their normal teams. So that's exciting. This morning, we had our new teacher mentor meeting at the high school. Mentioned Bryn's name earlier today and Paul's name, but Bryn really took the lead on our new teacher mentor training, and it was a knockout job. I mean, it was supremely organized. We had 90 new employees in the auditorium at 8:30 this morning. I was able to address the teachers. Frank was, Bryn and Paul and other central office staff. So they got to meet us formally. Stacy Musso was able to present. And then Bryn really organized some icebreaker activities that was able to kind of teach the new employees about our school district and the history of our school district, which is a very innovative way to do that. And then at the lunch period, all of the new teachers went to their home schools. We had lunch prepared for them and their mentors. And then the afternoon, mentors and mentees spent that time at their schools that they're going to be working in this school year. Happened to be heading to the office from the auditorium after lunch and noticed Green Street's parking lot was full. Lots of new staff. So I pulled in, spent some time with Kate, got to meet all these new faces, and the energy was just really healthy, really exciting, and you can tell kids are walking through that door any day now. So,
Whether we're ready.
Bryn or Paul, I don't know if you want to add to that. Don't feel like you have to, but I thought it was really a tremendous way to introduce new employees to our school system.
I had the chance to visit a couple of schools in the afternoon session, and I agree that the buzz was there. Teachers were getting tours, they were getting fed, they were clearly excited to be where they were and raring to go. Great.
Yeah. And I would add, it was so fun to be preparing for this and to look at names and positions and then actually to get to meet the faces and to hear people having conversations about what they were excited about for the year and their biggest memory of being in school, and to really set the stage. I think the general message that we were trying to share is there's so much support in this district for teachers during this sometimes very challenging time in education, and all of the structures and all of the systems that are present to really support our new hires as they step in, whether they're a brand new teacher or a very experienced teacher. It's a big thing to come into a new district, and so the hope is to have a open arm welcome for them, and the team really pulled together to do that, I think. So we're excited to work with them.
Great. Lastly, hiring update. Actually got some good news. It's kind of been doom and gloom for a while here, but we filled quite a few positions within the last week. And at this point in time, we don't have any open classroom teacher positions. We have one in Vernon, although we've solved a way to approach that to start the school year, so I feel very good about that. But all of our classroom teacher positions are full. Most of our certified teacher positions are full. We have some paraeducators to still fill, but we're in really good shape considering the state of affairs across the state. I don't know if I've shared the statistic at our last meeting, but as of 2 weeks ago, the VSA had put out a survey to all the supervisory unions, getting a sense of how many openings there were in the state of Vermont. And just 2 weeks ago, we had 1,200 educator openings in our small little state of Vermont. And so I feel like we're in really good shape. It didn't feel that way 2 weeks ago, but things have kind of worked out for us that we're in a pretty good state right now. So
Congratulations.
yeah.
Amen. Congratulations.
I'm
That's
so
great.
impressed. I was so impressed by the work that you're doing. I'm so encouraged, and I'm loving the leadership team and the collaboration. This year I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
I want to echo that. That was a terrific report. I'm so excited by your peer observation model.
Yeah.
Your teaching, as we know, who have been teachers, too often it's a lonely enterprise. It doesn't have to be that way. So kudos to your team. That was a terrific report.
Appreciate that.
I wanted to say that when you mentioned about the kindergarten or younger grade teacher and kind of having a sort of experience seeing the students in the older grades, and I imagine that's quite fulfilling for both teachers to see how what they're doing may be affecting or influencing the older grades and vice versa. So I really appreciate hearing about that.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. We have a lot of work to do to make that happen, because there is a science behind it and how to do that, but we know how to do it. We have super skilled administrators. We're all on board, and it's going to be an exciting journey, and I'm happy to present on it throughout the year. Yeah.
So Tim and I were at BUHS and sat in on a STEM class. And I think it was the last one of the year. And as an English teacher, it's really a hoot to do something like that. At Horace Mann, I used to sit in on the upper level geometry classes. And it's so high tech now, so different from the geometry of my generation. And that's also thrilling to go outside of your discipline.
Yes.
And see teaching take place. Right, you learn so much. Yeah.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
This is the first time that school's opened for most of the people, many of the people on this board, when we can actually go and see what's going on in the schools. And I think that's going to be a really great opportunity. I think we've got a group of people that are really going to want to do that, and be engaged in being in the buildings and seeing what's going on.
Yeah,
and also how to
absolutely
keep
welcome that. That's great.
And also how to keep that level of energy, because the beginning of the year, people are so high and everything is so bright. And just to figure out how we can support that, keep that level of energy as long as possible. Yes. Hopefully we don't have to mask and do all that again.
Just one more comment. At the end of last year, the board sent the teaching staff a letter of appreciation for all the trials and tribulations and dark days that they went through last year. I hope that they have far fewer this year, and we still support and appreciate their work so much.
I don't want to pick on Chris Mays because I know he had nothing to do with it, but it took a month or so before it showed up in the Reformer, and almost as long to get into the comments. So it was badly timed in early August rather than at the end of June, when people would have appreciated it a little more.
Yes, you were not an afterthought.
Well, words matter, and it's very helpful, so appreciate that. Yeah.
Did you have a new hire?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Over here. Want to do that right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So we do have a new hire, just came in this morning. Academic support teacher at BAMS, Amy Martinez, is being recommended for a one-year position that is open at BAMS. Academic support.
Approve the hire of Amy Martinez.
Second.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you, David. All those in favor of approving the new hire as presented by Mark, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mark, for you.
Just add one more thing. I understand from a conversation with Mark and Cassie and others that the next board meeting, there'll be a presentation on Aaron's Law from the high school.
If not the next one of the September
We're looking forward
board
to that.
meetings. Yeah, I think I asked Cassie to get a kind of a feel from Ricky Davidson and that group, that committee. of what would be most appropriate.
So
But that is up, that's coming up, yeah.
Yeah, the Aaron's Law presentations we've had so far have been really encouraging.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to the high schools too.
Great.
Thank you, Mark, for your report. Frank, do you have a fiscal report?
Sure. I thought I would elaborate a little bit more on what we discussed at Finance Committee last first meeting in the month, just because we didn't have a chance to talk much about it
sorry about that.
at the previous board meeting. So again, just recap of fiscal year 22. We had a $55.8 million budget. The spending was 55.1. So a variance of about 1%, which is a very good reflection of our team, our systems, and the ability to plan and then, of course, implement that budget. As far as what does it mean in terms of looking ahead, we reduced fund balance by $154,000. It means revenues were $154,000 less than spending. The plan was $950,000, if you may recall. We intentionally raised a tax rate that was less than the spending so that we could reduce taxes and reduce fund balance. I guess the point there is that it was a favorable variance, right? We expected to reduce fund balance by $950,000. It was only reduced by $154,000 because of that 1% favorable variance. What that means in terms of looking ahead and again addressing any surprises that may come our way from the legislature and/or funding agencies. We had a $5.3 million fund balance. Now we'll have a $5.1 million fund balance. It's still just about 10% of operating budget. So it's a very strong financial position to be in. I did want to make sure the board knew we discussed at length over 30 projects, capital projects, that we have ongoing for fiscal year 23. These results that I've just shared with you include $1,027,000 transfer from the general fund to the capital fund so that we continue to support those projects. Those are the projects that the board reviewed in January, again in March. It's the capital plan the board approved at that March meeting. So the capital fund is also, fund balance is in good shape. At this point, $3.8 million. We will continue to apply for those ESSER funds that are appropriate to support indoor air quality, improve learning environments, build outdoor learning environments, many things that we've talked about over the course of the last 3 years. And those projects are going well. As you know, the Academy project's the largest single project. We're at the tail end. We're pushing hard to get all the doors on the hinges and all the HVAC control systems installed. The window abatement project was significant over the summer. We pulled out all of the exterior windows in the Academy school and have those nice energy efficient improvements. So a lot going on, but from a fiscal point of view, we've had a very good year. I'll just mention a couple other things. We have the Cpa audit, the annual audit coming up. We'll be providing a lot of data to our auditing firm this month and into September. I would hope we'd see a draft audit report in late October, November, something like that. All of the fiscal reporting that's required this time of year, most of it's been complete. We have a few more reports this week to submit, but those are the things that allow us to see our $50–60 million in funding flow into our bank accounts. If we don't do this kind of thing, we don't get the money. So it's high stakes, a lot of work, but we have a great team at the central office, and we are
as Mark has said, looking forward to the new year and supporting all the good work that is happening in our buildings. I think that's all I wanted to report. Any questions I might be able to answer?
I'd like to make a statement, because sometimes, we get kind of glossed over with all these numbers, but you're spending $60 million to support a school system, and you come within 1% at the end of the fiscal year. That's remarkable. And it says a lot about Frank and his team, and as well as our administrators who are signing off on those checks. But that's pretty remarkable. You think that's to fall within 1% of 60 million.
Yeah.
That's a job well done.
It's very impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're a little jaded too, because it's kind of become this typical.
Thank you very much for all your efforts and for your...
And it is absolutely a team effort. I'm privileged to work with such great people.
We appreciate being able to rely on you and your team and Mark and the principals and the teachers and doing the work that they do. So thank you very much. So we will move on to the new business, and that starts out with Policy and Amendment Committee. There's some first reading.
Yeah, this is officially the first reading of policies listed in today's agenda. The next 10 days enables the community to assess and review each of the presented policies. They are F12, Transportation, F23, Policy on the Prevention of Harassment, Hazing, and Bullying of Students, F26, Participation of Home Study Students in School Programs and Activities, F41, Policy on Section 504, an ADA Grievance Protocol for Students and Staff, and the last one is H1, School Community Relations. If there are comments or objections, please email any member of the Policy and Amendment Committee. We are Sean Murphy, Liz Adams, Tim Maciel, David Scholes, and myself, Deborah Stanford. At the next board meeting, which will be at least 10 days from today, if there are no objections, there will be a motion for approval of these policies. And the edit marks, I go over this every time. It's in the agendas and in the minutes. The strikeouts are VSBA deletions, and the policy committee has accepted these changes. Bold indicates VSBA edits, which again, the policy committee has accepted. Highlighted in blue indicates a decision by the policy committee to retain wording that the VSBA says is unnecessary. And highlighted in red indicates additions very specifically by the Policy and Amendment Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah, and thank you to everyone on the Policy and Amendment Committee. You are doing a lot of work, so we appreciate that. You're getting through a lot of policies, so you're being very mindful of that. And
Great chair.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm just going to say the rate of policies coming through is going to slow down a bit because we are now dealing with the Leadership Council, and that's going to be, that's a lot going on. But we are working hard. We meet every 2 weeks, and we're all working hard. It's a great committee. It's a great committee. Thank you.
Really strong administrative support. Mark is there every week, and so is Barb. And Barb is, well, you know Barb.
Yes, yes. And so having Mark there is essential to these discussions. Paul Smith has been attending regularly, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, we will move on to the board trainings. So the first one is we have just had a Restorative Justice training last night. We had one on August 15th. We have 2 more that are in the works to be scheduled, and Lana is...
Restorative process.
Oh, I'm sorry. Restorative process. Thank you very much, Lana, for... Thank you. So Lana has sent out a doodle poll with some dates to see when board members might be available for these additional two to be scheduled. So if we can make sure that we have filled that out, we can try and get those scheduled. We still have one diversity training with Dottie Morris and Mary Gannon that has not been scheduled. This has already been paid for in the last year, and I will try to get that, work on getting that scheduled. I have provided the SD board members with some links to information on Robert's Rules of Order, which included a link for an actual book that could be used as a resource. I will be pursuing an actual training on Robert's Rules, and will update the board when I have more information on that.
The book in question.
That's a little one.
This is the book in question. It's well worth it. It's well worth it. It's well laid out. That's the abbreviated version. I prefer this one. This one is chapter and verse. It's well laid out, okay, with various appendices at the back.
For working moms, maybe this one.
I prefer this one.
Can I say that this was my working moms? I have them both. But I have them both.
I know you did better.
That was my working moms. This was my now chair.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the movie.
You're waiting for the movie.
There's lots online that you can go see. It's not yet graphic. Yeah.
As no shame.
I wanted to ask, I want to make a motion in a minute, but I also, I'll make a motion now, we can pass it, but after that, I'd like to ask people to talk a little bit about what the restorative practices experience has been like, and kind of just sort of share the flavor of it with our administrators and the public. But first, I want to move to authorize the chair to arrange to order copies of Robert's Rules of Order newly revised for board members, so that we have it.
I second.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Lana. All those in favor of authorizing the chair to arrange for the order of the Robert's Rules of Order newly revised, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. So, David?
Yeah, well, actually, I wanted to invite people to share a little bit about what the last couple of Monday nights have been.
I can share. Okay. One of the things that I really love about being on a board is that we're working together as a group. It's not me making decisions. And what I wanted to share with the board when I came on was the deep work that I do, building relationships and working together, solving problems, meeting challenges, having discussions that are difficult to have. And it has been so heartening to see everyone dig in to really do that work. And what I love about it is that it mirrors what I'm hearing that the administration is doing. And I'm really excited to see how those things can merge. We have a very fractured society right now. And this is what we need to do in order to move forward. So I'm so heartened by what I've seen, by what we're doing, and by what you are doing. And I hope to see more of it. As I have 3 years here, I want to work with each one of you during that time.
After 3.5 years on the board, it was the first opportunity that we got to know each other more than just board members, but as human beings. I came to understand Lana's passion for cephalopods. Who would have known? But it was really good to communicate on, to really get to know each other on a personal basis. And there is such honesty in those discussions. And I think we really moved ahead as a team.
And I want to say, sometimes there are members that cannot be. We have at the meetings for all different reasons, and we have 2 more. And I hope to see any member who couldn't attend to see them at the last remaining meetings, because there's still work to be done, and it's never too late.
I want to acknowledge that we've had 3 in-person trainings recently, and not just the past 2. And at each one, again, it's been the first time when we can speak freely to each other, and we learn so much from each other. And when we do a pair share, and I'm looking at the last person I did a pair share with, it just sort of makes the communication easier in the process. Yes, so thank you. Yes, that's it. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, a couple of things. One is that, two things. One is that it's amazing what a hunger there is for this kind of contact. It just showed up instantly and was there really extensively through both of those sessions. And the other is how in this format, we aren't usually working to complement or understand or build upon what each other is saying. We're working to get the nuts and bolts done and move on to the next thing. And just talking about that and recognizing that problem and what it means in terms of how it feels to be in these meetings is really helpful. I think it's already making a big difference.
And it's not just the personal that we get to experience with each other. It's also what we want to achieve in a moment like this, and how we want to work together, and how we want to hear each other, because that will expedite the work that we need to do. So it is that kind of engagement.
I just was wondering if Bruce would want to ask.
Anyone else have in the administration or the public have any questions, comments?
Kelly?
Yeah,
Kelly?
Liz?
Yeah, I just was like, I couldn't go to the first one because it wasn't safe for my family, but I was just almost overwhelmed by such warm greetings I got from people. And thinking back, it's because nobody has seen me since I got on the board. And it's like, oh yeah, there's a body that goes with this head. There's a personality. And it was just like, it almost had me in tears. It was so warm and welcoming. And the whole thing has been set up so well. And Mel is great at what she does, and getting to know people more. It means a lot to me. And I know it means a lot to everybody who went there. And I could feel us coming together as a board, which was really nice.
That is a good point. A shout out to Mel Motel and the restorative team at Youth Services. They do fantastic work.
Just wanted to add that the board is really excited about welcoming Kaya and Ben to the team too. So that's going to make a even dozen board members. Nice.
Adding chairs to the table.
Mm-hmm. The two most important members here.
Thank you. So the SD board has attended one VSBA training that the SU board had arranged and was essentially hosting for the members of the SD and Vernon Elementary School boards. There were 4 trainings anticipated. I believe that the SU board may be resolving some issues regarding the schedule of that training, and this board will need to determine how to move forward with this with regard to their participation in additional trainings. So that's what I have for, I will say, because the last executive session, the third executive session or anticipated executive session of the last meeting was in regards to something that happened prior to the VSBA training, and I can't go into what actually happened, but it was the board needed to determine how they were going to move forward with this participation in this training. And that was what that anticipated executive session was on. And so I'm not sure that there's much more that I can say about that, but if anyone has any questions, I can certainly see if I can answer them. Okay, thank you. So now we're going to move on to the 2 executive sessions that we have, and One of them was for, let's see, make sure so I make a motion for the board to go into executive session based on, after finding a specific finding that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or person involved at a substantial disadvantage. All those in favor of, oh, I'm sorry, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Anne. All those in favor?
Discussion? Do we have discussion before we vote?
Sure.
Can I just ask what the finding is and that indicates?
I've been told that if this is, it's in regards to a student. It's not a student disciplinary, but it's involving student representation on the board. And that's as much as I can indicate.
Under contract with the student?
I haven't gotten to the second motion. That's the first motion. Paul has indicated that I need to make two motions. I have made my first motion. So I made the motion to go into executive session, and then I will get to the second motion for the actual executive session.
Okay.
All those in favor of going into executive session under what I have just indicated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed or abstain?
I'll abstain.
Okay, so we need to have a roll call. I need anyone who is approving going into executive session to raise your hand. Okay, so we have Anne, David, Deborah, Tim, Lana, and Sean.
And Liz.
And I was getting to you, Liz. Liz. And Emily's not on, is she?
No.
Okay. Okay, so all those abstaining or opposed? Abstain. Okay, so we will go into executive session. So is there a motion for the board to go into executive session to, under 1 VSA 313A3, the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, provided that the public body shall make a final decision to hire or appoint a public officer or employee in an open meeting and shall explain the reasons for its final decision during the open meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Thank you, Anne. David and Anne. All those in favor of going into executive session under the statute that I have indicated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, will you be coming back to open session to vote on anything?
I believe we will be. And I don't anticipate that it will take very long. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So,
we gotta stop recording.
Mark, is there another room for us that we can probably
Find another, we can leave. I mean, would you rather go to another room?
Makes sense for if everybody else would like to stay and not make everyone move.
It makes sense. I mean, the recording and, you know, this shouldn't take too long. Okay, so we are returning from executive session at 7:53.
Could anybody that's still got a connection see if Liz is, I've got 0 participants.
Liz is changing over. I just got off the phone.
Clearly, because something happened.
Liz is in. Liz is in, Paul.
I let everybody back in from the waiting room and then I got 0.
I have a full page of those.
You got a whole bunch of people?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So.
Excuse me, the audio's not working.
Oh, no.
No, sorry.
Well, glitches. It's okay.
Yeah.
They're in place.
She just knows that she doesn't yell out.
I know.
It took a long time to get.
I know this is policy. Just fine. And I tell him.
It's easy to get lost.
Can they hear us? Okay, we returned from executive session at 7:53. Now 7:54. Okay, so Tim, did you?
I have a motion to ensure the success of the student representatives newly appointed to the board, I make a motion that the board approve a mentorship program with the note that there are representatives there are directors on the board who will reach out to the two student reps to speak to them about becoming their mentor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Deborah got it. Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Deborah. All those in favor of establishing a mentoring program for the student representatives, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, wonderful.
One thing I would add is that they're minors, we would want, parental permission.
Thank you very much for,
Thank you, Mark.
so maybe whichever board member can reach out to, who should they reach out to make sure that they're following whatever? I mean, is there something that the parent needs to sign?
I would
or?
think so, yeah.
Okay, so can they reach out to Barb and would she?
Or is it the administrative assistant?
Well, I guess it really depends on what the mentoring program looks like. Like, what are the details of the program? When do you meet? How often?
And how do you meet, right? If it's virtual or in person?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you just want to really spell it out, what that mentoring program looks like and what they're signing on to. And so that they can have that conversation with their parents and potentially their parents with whoever the mentors are going to be as well.
So what I'm hearing is we need to draft something and present it to.
Yeah, I think like a memorandum with like a sign off.
That letter I sent to everybody would be almost sufficient.
So would you want more than a conversation, but rather a parental signature, a guardian signature?
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and so then who do we reach out to for that? What process do we go through once?
I think you need to identify what the parameters of the mentoring program are, and then get those into a document, and then you could ask assistance from Barb or somebody else in the district, another admin assistant could maybe help tweak it.
So just Barb.
She's got a lot on her plate, so we may kind of move that to somebody else, but I think if you set the parameters, create a draft, and then somebody in our office can take a look at it, add some edits, recommendations. Maybe even like Pietro, take a quick look at it.
Fantastic. Would you be willing to take a look at it?
Sure,
as well?
absolutely.
Okay, that'd be fantastic.
So maybe we can have a draft for the next meeting? Okay, thank you, Mark, for bringing that up. That's, we certainly don't want to be delving
Make that
into
mistake.
Anything that might get into trouble.
I think before the next meeting.
I think it has to be as quickly as possible.
Be nice to have them at the next meeting as.
But I think we need to
Well,
approve it.
there'll be members there are already members on the board beginning in September. So the mentor thing would.
No, I mean,
We're talking about the mentorship.
this board would need to approve the parameters.
Oh,
So if you bring a draft to the next board meeting, we can look at that and approve
yeah,
that.
that's for the mentorship program.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the next board meeting, they will be here.
In place, yes.
Got it, okay.
And maybe they can weigh in on the document as well.
Maybe.
That might be, a good opportunity. Okay. So Mark, I believe that you had an executive session, so I'm going to I'm going to make a motion for the board to go into executive session after making a specific finding that a premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. You got it before you did. Thank you. All those in favor of going into executive session based on those findings, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain?
I have a point of order in that I think Michelle requested discussion after the motion was made.
Just to clarify what the finding is, I think is that you're thinking the same thing?
No, I wasn't sure, but I remember that you had said when we went into the first executive session that you wanted to make a comment when we got to this one, unless I misunderstood.
Oh, no.
This is on Mark's.
Right, I'm just,
executive session.
right. So I'm So, I mean, Mark can share, or you can share what it's,
Would you like to share?
employee, like an employee, for instance, is confidential.
Yeah, it's a personnel matter.
Thank you. So are we set to?
Yeah. We have two community members that have their hands up, and I don't know if it's, not for this. Okay, good, just checking.
So I'm going to make a motion for the board to go into executive session under 1 VSA 313A1A contracts. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. All those in favor of going into executive session under that statute, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, thank you very much. We need to go into executive session, which means
Stop the video.
we need to stop the video and. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to invite in Mark. Do I need to amend my motion to invite Mark in?
Can't hurt.
And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Deborah. All those in favor of amending the motion to move into executive session to include Mark, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, thank you. We are back from executive session at 8:05. Does anyone want to?
I move that this board approve the recommendation made by administration with regard to a teacher leave of absence.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sean, for the second. All those in favor of approving Mark's recommendation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Okay, wonderful. Okay. So the last item on the agenda is the last executive session, and I believe we will have potential action afterwards. So I make a motion to go into executive session based on, making a specific finding that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of going into the, yes, sure.
Can you share the finding with me, please?
The finding is the finding will be under 1 VSA 313A3 and 1 VSA 313A4, as suggested by our counsel. So all those in favor of going into executive session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained?
Abstain.
Thank you. So we are going to have to take a roll call. All those in favor of going into executive session as indicated, please raise your hand. And David, Deborah, Tim, Lana, and Liz. Okay. And any abstentions, or are you abstaining or okay. Okay. And you abstaining? Okay. Okay. So then the second part of the motion, or second part of this, is to make a motion to go into executive session under, make sure I read this correctly, 1 VSA 313A3, the evaluation of public officer or employee, provided that the public body shall make a final decision to hire or appoint a public officer or employee in an open meeting and shall explain the reasons for its final decision during open meeting. And 1 VSA 313A4, a disciplinary or dismissal action against a public officer or employee, in which case the motion and action to move into executive session. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have stopped with employee. So disciplinary or dismissal action against a public officer or employee. Is there a second?
Which one are we going in, Don?
Both.
I thought we couldn't do that.
I've been told that we can. So we are going into executive session under both. All those in, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Deborah. All those in favor of going into executive session as indicated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, we'll do a roll call. All those in favor of going into executive session, please raise your hand. Okay, so that is Ann, Deborah, Tim, Lana, David, and Liz. Okay. Sean, are you?
No, I will abstain, but I'd like to say the reason I am going to abstain, and it just seems like there are questions that haven't been answered to the satisfaction of everybody. So it's disappointing that has occurred, and so I'm going to abstain for that.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Sean. And Michelle, were you abstaining?
I'm also abstaining because of lack of information. I'm not sure what we're voting on.
Well, we are now in executive session at 8:10, and hopefully it won't be too long, but I anticipate that we may have something afterwards. So we're going to run back down to the...
Lana, can you...
Okay, so we are back from executive session at 9:02. And do you want to make the motion?
I'm sorry.
Motion for the communication?
I move that we approve the communication as drafted by the deputized board members and proceed to release it to the VSBA and our administration.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, so Ann and Lana, thank you. Is there, all those in favor of approving the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Okay, thank you. And I think that concludes our
Out of business.
business this evening, so I'm going to turn to Ann.
Madam Chair, there being no further business before this board, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Ann, and thank you, Liz. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed or abstained? We are adjourned at 9:03. Have a great evening, everyone.